Wham! Talk 1600. You're catching the drift. Conservative talk. Intelligent conversations on local, state, and national issues with Gary Wellings, chief editor of the Current newspaper and Current Online. Join in the conversation at 734-822-1600. And now, your host, Gary Wellings.
Eric, have you seen Gary?
No, I haven't.
Okay, well, we'll have to get through this without him. Hi, good afternoon. This is the Drift Radio Show. This is your host, Ed Bonderenka. I'm here with my co-host, Alex Wassell, a regular fixture around here anymore. And Gary is off on vacation. I was going to say
that's
something.
great.
Yeah, he's not off on an assignment. He's off actually on vacation and enjoying that. And that's interesting. I just found out I'm not going to have internet access in here. So, welcome. Join us. What we do here at The Drift every week is we discuss the news that you find at thedrift.com, thedailydrift.com. It's
the news you need to know.
Exactly. It's the news you need to know. And we're sponsored by the Current newspaper, where it's got the coupons you need to have, the information you need for your local community in Livingston County. And we present all kinds of local community news there and advertising. And advertising is a big deal of what pays for the paper. So, how was your week?
Well, mine was pretty good. A lot of interesting news that came down the pike. The same old stuff from the Democrats, but a lot of good news for President Trump with the economy. And I don't know, it was a great week.
Oh, good. I had a pretty good one, too. Pretty busy. Work keeps me busy. Of course, you're retired. You wouldn't know how that goes anymore. Yeah. So someday I'll be able to afford that if I'd like to. Actually, the secret is, and I hope my boss isn't listening, I like my job. It's a hobby to me. I enjoy what I do. You liked what you did, too, right?
Oh, absolutely. It was
just
fun.
Just want to make demands on you. That's a problem.
Oh, no. When we worked together at Willow Run, it was a great time, and keeping the equipment running, it was a lot of good camaraderie.
Yep. Yes, sir. So one of the things I wanted to do first was talk about one of our advertisers in the Current, and that would be Go Like the Wind Montessori Academy. I've heard of Montessori for many years. Really wasn't fluent in what Montessori education was, and then I found out that it's actually a class above. It's a step above, and I wasn't sure what their orientation was, whether it was a liberal, progressive type education. But Go Like the Wind is an authentic Montessori education from 6 weeks through middle school, inspiring a lifelong love of learning since 1987. Our mission: to provide the highest quality Montessori education within a diverse environment while demonstrating Christian values and fostering a love for one another through God. And I was actually pleasantly pleased and blessed to find out that a friend of mine, who's the musical director for the Depot Town Big Band, is on their board. And that speaks well of them right there, because he's also a licensed minister. So, yeah. And there, you can find them at 8845 Main Street, Whitmore Lake, Michigan. You can call them at 734-747-7422, or go to golikthewind.com. Golikthewind.com. Get your kids a great education. You'll be glad you did. Trust me. So we're going to talk about some various things today. I was hoping that a friend of mine could call in. He's a international security expert, but I haven't heard from him, so we may have to do without that. I was hoping he could talk to us about what he knows about the situation with China. And he's he runs an international security company, so he provides assistance to different factions that are wanting to do certain things or want information on how to do it. And he's an ex-employee of the federal government, and so he has those contacts.
Well, Ed, I think China is the biggest threat to the United States that we face. So it would have been great for him to lend some expertise.
He's got a half an hour. We got lots of other stuff to talk about. One thing I was reading about this week that really caught my attention was something called the Othismos Declaration. And I wondered, what the heck is the Othismos Declaration? And it turns out that here in Michigan, with our new regime in Lansing, particularly Wretched Witless and Dana Nessel, is that the Attorney General?
Yes, it is.
Yes, they're coming up with a hate crimes unit.
Is that thought crimes?
Yes,
or?
hate speech unit.
Okay.
Excuse me. So once again, it's like they want to trample on our First Amendment rights and prevent us from talking about what we want to talk about. And it really, that's more not a government function, but more private enterprise function like Facebook and Twitter.
Well, semi-private. I
Yeah,
think they're the left-wing arm of the German secret police or something.
Yeah. So as a pushback against this effort by the Democratic administration and Dana Nessel, a number of pastors have come together and formed Othismos, OTHISOMOS.org. And it's an effort by Michigan pastors from various branches of Christianity moved by a first concern for the state of Michigan and her citizens. And the word Othismos speaks of this Greek battle tactic of butting shields in battle, where the two sides would charge each other. So the whole point is that we stand together and push back against the attack on our
First Amendment rights,
our culture, our ability to speak about things that are important to us, to be able to counter things that are being done to us, the fomenting of certain preferences upon us in violation of our First Amendment rights of not just free speech, but of assembly and religious practices.
Well,
So-
you could see around the world that there's been numerous attacks against Christians and Christianity, and it's coming here to Michigan.
Yeah, Chase, wonderful. Well, moving on from there, unless anybody wanted to talk about that, you can call in at 734-822-1600. That's the Wham studio line. You'll be greeted by our sharp jackknife, Swiss Army knife of a producer, Derek Stone. Once again, that's 734-822-1600. And what I wanted to talk about also was fraud. We've got two things going on. One is I found out about some pharmaceutical fraud that was going on. A friend of mine brought it to my attention that Charles Throgmorton, he's a longtime Eaton Rapids resident and career criminal. He was recently convicted and sentenced for the third time. He was charged with peddling herbal concoctions of dubious origin, claiming that they prolonged lives. Now, Mr. Throgmorton's previous convictions were in 1624 and 1869. So obviously this fraud has a long history of
Yes, I had to.
this
I had a
fraud.
question when I read that. Yeah.
Yeah, the last time he was convicted was 1869, and now he's up on charges again. I mean, this stuff, it must be a fraud, right?
Well, he must have gotten some time off for good behavior or something. It's been over 100 years, eh?
Yeah. That must be it. That's out on recognizance. But I was reading in a couple places about Obama election fraud. Now, granted, the Obama election was a long time ago. Obama's long gone past, but fraud in general bothers me, and the fact that people get away with fraud. But what happened is, what reminded me of this was that there's a guy named Ho-Lau Pras, okay, and he just got convicted, not convicted, I'm sorry, he just got accused of funneling cash to the Obama re-election campaign. This just happened a couple days ago. Now, this guy is this Malaysian playboy, and as I understand, he's on the run from Malaysia right now for other fraudulent activities. But it turns out that he transferred $21.6 million to ex-Fugees rapper Pras Mitchell, who then moved $865,000 of that money to straw donors who contributed to an Obama fundraising committee. Now, that's something I always felt was going on. Like I said, I lost internet connection. I don't know why. I had another article here that talked about, at the Hill, about what was going on during the time of the election and in 2012, and how there was suspicions at the time of fraud, of money being funneled to the Obama campaign from overseas, that there was a guy in China who owned the website Obama.com. Now, that was not the official BarackObama.com website, but this guy was taking in money from all over the world and then funneling it to the Obama campaign. Now, the trick is that small donations that don't have to be claimed under $200 can be given.
Right.
So I don't know if you remember hearing this at the time or not, but Obama made such a big deal about all of his money was being raised grassroots. He was getting $25, $50 donations from all the little people named Donald Duck, Minnie Mouse, I Am Cool. Yeah.
Chow mein.
Yeah, chow mein, yep. And so this may be the culmination of an effort to bring to justice the people involved with that. Now, whether it would actually reach Obama or not, I don't know. There's enough stuff going on that should reach Obama.
Well, it was the 2012 re-election that looks like, and so I'm sure the House and the Senate of the time did an extensive investigation of the Malaysian-China collusion scandal.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm sure they they held numerous committee hearings, and they ran down all the culprits, and I think they came to some sort of FBI conclusion or something like that. But, oh, wait, they didn't.
Yeah, they didn't. Yeah. Oh, well.
Well, forget it.
Time to wake up, Alex.
Never mind, folks.
Yeah.
Nothing to see here.
What was her name? Emily Latella. Oh, never mind. So, folks, the number is 734-822-1600. Derek, there's not a game on, are there?
Not right now.
Okay. Maybe some golf tournament or something. You know?
Ed, we're the biggest game in town here.
There you go. Yeah. Well, so moving on, talking about fraud. Actually, I'm done talking about fraud. I was going to mention the pharmaceutical fraud got out of order there. The other thing I wanted to talk about before we moved on to China was weaponization, governmental weaponization. You remember the attacks by the IRS by Lois Lerner and company on Tea Party organizations?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, it seems now that the House the democratically controlled House, wants to go after President Trump's tax returns. And whether they're state returns or federal returns, they're going with the full Monty. They want it, or else they're going to impeach. I mean, they're going to impeach anyhow, right?
Right.
Or they're going to threaten him with what? Arrest? Another subpoena?
Well, can't they just buy a copy of the New York Times and
there's an idea.
and forget about all the impeachment and being held in contempt of Congress and all that good stuff?
Yeah. Well, what bothers me is the whole concept of weaponizing our government. Back when Obama tried to use it against the Tea Party groups and taking them to
and other conservative groups.
Exactly. And then now you've got a whole branch of Congress, the House of Representatives, controlled by Jerry Nadler, and Pelosi, and of all things, Maxine Waters. And I don't hear of any legislation coming out of this group. All I hear is one attack after another on conservatives and President Trump. Was that the intent of the founders? I was looking in the Constitution, and I didn't see it. Article 2 is on Congress, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, and I don't see anything in there about and shall attack another branch of the government or political party not of your liking.
Well, Ed, the one thing I don't see is back in the 50s when Joe McCarthy was running his investigations and getting a little out of hand. Mm-hmm. Although I think he was